When looking into particular traits that real media products convey, we found that there were three types. Performance was the first, through the particular predominant visual of the instruments used, or the artist or band that sing the song before being portrayed throughout the piece, or mainly a concept-based video which mainly portrays a narrative or shows high impacted visuals throughout the video. An example of this would be Chandelier by Sia.
We found that within the pop and soul genre, mainly emotive language and visuals were portrayed, and decided to replicate this factor in our own piece. We also found that the artist was shown throughout, lip-syncing the lyrics and given an emotive performance, which we again replicated in our own piece.
Through the research we undertook, we decided to have a combination of both narrative and performance, that being the artist portrayed performing, whilst a narrative storyline is portrayed underneath. We chose to contrast both the narrative and the performance, being that both of the settings contrast due to the difference in mise-en-scène, because in the artist's portrayal it is plain and dark, whereas the narrative contrasts in camera capabilities and is high in complexity.
Linking to this, we challenged the convention to have the artist as the main focus, in that we portrayed him with simple and basic camera angles and shots. We found that in doing this, the artist is seen as emotive by our chosen demographic, and the storyline is emphasised, thus representing it as the most important factor within our piece.
Although the narrative and performance did contrast, we did combine them through the similar colours portrayed in both of them. We did this to allow a theme to be present in our piece, because we found that if we did, a constant genre and mood could be easily recognisable. Examples of this will be shown in the commentary.
As you can see, we started our music video showing our protagonist through a high angle to build the foundations of the narrative storyline. We replicated this from the video of Just Jack's The Day I Died. We chose to replicate this due to a simple but effective way of opening the narrative.
We have developed the convention of the effect of using the transition between the artist's performance and the narrative. This was mostly effective due to the artist being both the protagonist and the performer within our piece. An example of how the transition is effective is the real media production of Rude by the band Magic, is that they use the portrayal of performance in order to break up and enhance the effect of the newly situated narrative.
As shown, we chose to challenge the convention of having the artist be either the protagonist in the storyline or to perform. We challenged this convention by having our artist be in both pieces, which we believe gave the artist a much more down-to-earth persona, and also presented them as open to the audience by portraying them as a personal story of his past.
When researching into real media products, we found that intertextuality was consistently predominant, and we chose to replicate this factor in order for our music video to be seen as professional and that of a real media product status. An example being when the lyrics "Way It Hurts" are sung, the protagonist is shown looking down in a downhearted fashion, emphasising his sad feeling towards his situation, which provides the suggestion to feel sympathy towards the protagonist. Thus, this also allows the audience to see the artist's true purpose for his piece, in that it isn't stardom but is an emotional release from his past relations, in that he knew he wasn't the only one.
The convention we found to be a repetitive characteristic in real media products is the constant representation of the narrative and performances, setting and mise-en-scène. We chose to replicate but develop this factor by not just having one certain and most likely to establish shot, but to have a variety of shots enriched with camera angles and transitions, allowing our piece to not be repetitive and dull, and it also allowed our chosen demographic to feel much more intimate with the artist's piece, allowing again a relationship to be built again.
We developed on-camera angles and transitions when showing the performance compared to the singer, the main one being a slow zoom out when the artist sang the lyrics that matched the action of the actor. We chose to do this in our own piece due to us showing emotion and building sympathy for the artist as well as the actor. It also emphasised the piece's genre for it being slow and lacking in complexity.
One convention that Real Media Products chose to convey was complex transitions between shots. We found that using this convention within our piece, the example being when there is a crash zoom in of the protagonist's black jacket and it transgresses with a fade to black, allowed us to give variety and not lack in repetitive shot choice.
A shame for our artist isn't always portrayed as a celebrity. We chose to challenge the convention of portraying him as a star because we find that it was represented in him as a member of the public. His story could be relatable and could result in more positive audience feedback.
A strong characteristic that productions of our chosen genre had was the emphasis on emotion when the artist performed. We found that this really conveyed their true feelings and purpose of performing, and in some circumstances composed the song. We chose to develop this in order to create a certain rapport between our artist and his demographic. That certain parts within the piece are performed with such emotion, it really allows the audience to emphasize and build a relationship with our artist.
Although our narrative was very unique and particular, we developed a certain convention from Real Media Products in that we vividly portrayed the abrupt notion of change throughout our piece. This was an idea we found very effective through certain cuts and quick transitions between the past and present, i.e. the imagination and reality. An example being Figure It Out by the well-acclaimed band Royal Blood. We've developed this convention by giving a variety of ways in which the change was shown, because we found that by using the same transition, that became repetitive and boring.
The use of a symbol to establish a certain item is something of high recognition with Real Media Products. In that is a simple but very operative feature that can easily portray a complex idea. Examples from Real Media Products being Hozier's song Take Me to Church. We replicated this convention by having photos by an actual symbolism of the past. But when saying this, we actually developed the idea in that we didn't just portray the symbolism, we progressed its purpose. For example, in the final sequence, the protagonist is shown walking away from the photos, which were the past, proving that he has moved on.